then one of the Muslim paradigms is and could be that you are here for a short period of time. So not only here, but here on the podium also. So there's so you have to take care of time. So I hope I will also finish this paper of whatever the time that I have been provided with. My paper title is An Introduction to Badiuzaman Sayyid Nursi's Thought on Sufism. Sufism, we know, doesn't have one single definition. For one important reason, that it is essentially an experience, and experiences are very subjective. And that's how Maulana Rumi explains it by citing the example of elephant and blind man. So every single individual tries to define it from his own or his or her experience. But to use the words of William Chittick, Sufism is a quest for nearness to God, to put it very simply. In the paper, I will try to highlight that what are the views of Sayyid Nursi on Sufism, and also I will try to relate his views with those of Imam Rabbani, how far they have been influenced by Imam Rabbani's view of Sufism. First of all, as a preliminary, I would like to say that Sayyid Nursi did not want to construct a distinct Sufi way. That's very important before understanding the Sayyid Nursi's thought on Sufism. He does regard it as an important organ of Islam, not something inner and outer way, the way generally Sufis try to explain Sufism. It is an important part of our Islam, not something inner. One. Two, at the outset, let us first see what led Sayyid Nursi to Sufism. That was his spiritual cravings. And this has been aptly put by Bilal Kuspinar in one of his articles. And I quote that Nursi, especially in former days, had gone through a period of hesitation in quest of a way to reach the truth. In one of these hectic times, for instance, when he had been pondering upon the phenomenon of death, his heedless head, as he himself laments, had become a target of terrible and fateful blows. Such compelling situation eventually prompted him to look for a savior who could cure his psychological illness. As we see in all great thinkers and saints, they go through this stage of psychological turmoil, and then they look for an answer. We see the same in the case of Imam Ghazali. So here, the relation between Imam Rabbani and Sayyid Nursi starts. He comes across one of his maktub, one among the 536 maktubat entitled Maktubat Imam Rabbani. In that maktub, he reads that maktub is, and I quote, "Make Tawheed your point of direction. In other words, take one individual as your master and follow him strictly. Do not concern yourself with anyone else." And here he got the lead that Tawheed has to be made the nucleus, focus of life. And where from the Tawheed comes, it is elucidation, and it is in the Quran. So it is this one of the maktub of Imam Rabbani which leads Sayyid Nursi to Tawheed and then to Quran. Moving forward, Sayyid Nursi is appreciative of all Sufi orders, but he belongs to none. That's very important. He says it's not important whether you belong to any Sufi order or Sufi school of thought, but what's important is to attain the truths. So, and Sufism is one of the ways of attaining the truth, but it's not necessary to be part of certain Sufi thought, but what is important is attaining the truth. Again, here he was also led and influenced by one of the letters of Imam Rabbani, whom he addresses as hero and son of the Naqshbandi order. In that letter, Sheikh Ahmad Sarandi, alias Mujaddid al-Fisani or Imam Rabbani, writes, "I prefer to be unveiled to me of a single matter concerning the realities or truths of faith, to thousands of intuitions, ecstasies, and wondrous deeds and works. So what is important is attaining the truth and not necessarily clinging to any Sufi order. Then after building a relation with Sufism, then Sayyid Nursi tries to define it. And he defines it like this. Sufism is the name of the spiritual way by which initiates seek knowledge of God and attain full perception of truths of belief and the Quran. And he again says its major goal and aim is to reach Gnosis, Ma'rifatullah. And that is the ultimate aim of Sufism. And he says Sufism is known by different terms like tariqa, sainthood, initiation, and following spiritual order or way. Then after defining Sufism, he then discusses certain issues which have been a part of the general discourse of Sufism. Like the one, what is the relation between prophethood and sainthood? This has been one of the discussions among the Sufis. And here he says, among the Sufis, generally there is belief that obviously prophethood is superior than sainthood. But some Sufis would elevate, they say sainthood is superior than prophethood because Sufis try to categorize the life of Prophet Muhammad into two. One part is when he directly is in connection with God, like when he is receiving revelation or say Miraj, or when he is in meditation. That is the sainthood of prophethood. Another part is when he is direct in the society and teaching and preaching Islam. So Sufis divide the Prophet's life into two. And some Sufis were of believe that sainthood part of the prophethood is superior than the prophethood. But here again, like Imam Rabbani, he says sainthood is superior than prophethood. He says, Nursi establishes an intrinsic connection between the two, making one complementary to the other. He states that sainthood is the proof of prophethood. What saints try to achieve, obviously, is what prophets have already achieved. Or in other words, what it is said that the pinnacle of sainthood is the beginning of the prophethood. They only try to emulate what prophet is try to achieve. So there is no conflict between the two. In this again, he almost reverberates what Imam Rabbani says in one of his letters. And Imam Rabbani says, although the Ummah he says that Sheikh Ahmad Sarandi contests the thought that Nubuwwat is superior than prophethood, and says and asserts that the Nabi is superior to Wali, and even his Nubuwwah is superior to Walayat. This he mentions is one of the maktub. Then the relation between the companions and the saints. Again, this has been an issue. What is the importance of being a companion, Sahaba? Here again, he says that Sohbat al-Nabuwah is superior than any other relation. That saints also achieve certain heights spiritually, but that still keeps them at the lower level than the companions. And here Sayyid Nursi explains this Sohbat al-Nabuwah to an elixir. He says the prophetic companionship is just like an elixir. Whosoever experiences it in for a minute attains to the illuminations of reality equivalent to years of mystical journey. Then he says even the saints like Jalaluddin Suyuti, even if they have the vision of the prophets, that vision is only due to the light of the sainthood of the prophethood, not due to the prophethood itself. Therefore, that vision is inferior to the companionship of the prophets. Again, Sheikh Ahmad Sarandi also says the same thing. He says, although Uwais Qarni and Umar bin Abdul Aziz match in virtue the companions, but still due to the superiority of companions for the sohbat of prophethood, makes companions only superior than others, even Sahaba or saints. Then on the very important two important philosophies, Wahdatul Wujud and Wahdatul Shu'ud, he says both these views fall in conflict with the teachings of the Quran. Wahdatul Wujud, which generally says the crux is that the universe is sheer non-existence and therefore nothing existence but God. And he also, although in many ways when he criticizes Wahdatul Wujud of Ibn Arabi, that criticism again is following on the lines of Sheikh Ahmad Sarandi. For example, he says, unity of being is an experience and a most sublime station, but this is a lowest rank in spiritual experience. Again, as I will like to quote Sheikh Ahmad Sarandi, he also says the same in his maktub. Yeah, sure. I would like to go through this maktub. Sheikh Ahmad Sarandi writes in one of his maktub that he passed through, Sheikh Ahmad Sarandi passed through 3 stages in his mystic experience, beginning from Vilayat, unitism. He reached to Ziliyat, adumberation, and then to Abdiyat. At the stage of error of Wujudiyat became clear to him, and he realizes that it is only a lowest stage of mystic experience, and therefore he denounces Wahdatul Wujud. As I have been ordered, he also criticizes the critiques of Sufism. So he all the way defends the institution of Sufism. One, he divides them into 2 groups. One group he says is Firaq-i-Dhalli, that is the devious sects. They criticize Sufism because they are themselves ignorant and make others also ignorant. Then he says among the second group is the group from Ahl Sunnah wal Jamaat. And within this Ahl Sunnah wal Jamaat there are 2 groups. One he identifies as Zahiri Ulama, the external scholars, and Ahl Siyasat Ghafil, ignorant politicians. He says they highlight only those things which are the negative aspects of Sufism or the lesser experiences of certain Sufis or certain Sufi scholars of thought, Sufi scholars, that there are always issues related with any institution. For example, he gives the example of democracy. We all are, he also is in support of democracy, but he says democracy also came with Nazism and fascism. So as institution, Sufism has certain fallouts, but for those fallouts, whole institution of Sufism cannot be rejected and should not be rejected. Then finally, the scope and relevance of Sufism in the modern age, and that's very interesting. As I just briefed in a very short period of time, he all the way defended Sufism. As an institution, its nuances, the people associated with it, its various philosophies. But simultaneously and interestingly, he does not see place for Sufism in the modern age. And that's very interesting and something to be pondered over. He says, when he was asked about Sufism, Islam is necessary. This is not the age of Sufism. And that's very, very important, and which really is fascinating, at times paradoxical, but also illuminating simultaneously. I see both things in it. Although he defends that he went, while discussing with one of his students, that he tried to tread different paths, and one of them was Sufism. But he found that Sufism is only the highest of the elite could take away. It is the cup of tea of the specialists. Everyone cannot perhaps tread this path. And again he says, what is important to me is haqiqah and iman. And then he says, again, Sufi path is spiral way. It is dangerous, illusory, and unsafe. Then he gives alternative. That alternative is the truthful and trustworthy leader to the eternal abode is God-inspired wisdom of the Holy Quran, and it is universal light leading the straight way. Again, it's the Sufi's spiral way. He says this is the straight way, and the only thing flawless and complete. Thank you very much.